Sorry guys, so last week I kind of left off, talking about my grandmother. And, you know, my grandmother, she was a saved woman, you know. She followed the Lord. She loved the Lord. A lot of her kids, grandkids, a lot of us didn't follow her. My uncles, some of them were saved, I guess, back when I was little or before I was even born, because some of my brothers are 10 years older than me. But by the time I come along, none of them were saved, just my grandmother. My grandfather, I never knew him to be a holy man. Because soon my father went down to Mississippi, he wouldn't let me get out the car. My grandfather had like 50 acres or something like that. And my father knew out where the steel was. My grandfather sold homebrew, I guess. I didn't find that out till years later. But I just knew my father, he let me go with him a lot of places. But when we went down there, he would go speak to my grandfather and grandmother. And this is my grandfather on my mother's side. So, but, my father knew, where the steel was. So he would go down and go straight to get the home when we got down to Mississippi. I mean, like clockwork, Then once he got, got that little homebrew on him, then he'd go visit his mother now. And, but, I'm looking at my grandmother and I think about my sister-in-law, Tika, rest in peace. And, my father's passed too, But Tika, I was around Tika for years. And she reminded me just a lot of my grandmother. She didn't judge. She didn't judge me. She didn't judge us, So we'd be around Tika. We'd be doing our own thing. Tika would come and hang out and laugh and joke. And Tika was almost like the life of the party, Love Tika. And she never would judge us, And I ended up getting saved, quite a few years before Tika passed. But Tika just, she was a Christian lady, but she wasn't judgmental. And that's the way my grandmother was. She didn't, my grandmother didn't act like she was better than nobody just because she was saved. Because I've had people that I've been around, they think they saved, that, that makes them better than, no. You meet people where they at. So I remember when I was young, I was about 19, and I used to go to Milwaukee by myself because, Racine was a little slow for me back then. And so I used to go up there by myself because one thing I knew about hanging around people and friends or whatever, that if something happened, most times a lot of people don't have your back or whatever, and something happens. So I just like being by myself, and sometimes people you hang around, they do silly stuff, and I used to like to be by myself most times. So I hung out by myself. So I used to go to Milwaukee for years. I just hung out in Milwaukee, man. It was a nice, fast pace. I enjoyed it. So I remember one time McDonald's right on North. As soon as you get off the freeway, McDonald's right there on North and 3rd Street or something like that. As soon as you cross you get off the freeway, you cross the bridge, McDonald's. I'm quite sure it's still there. Excuse me. But whenever I get off the highway, I would stop at that McDonald's. So this was a Sunday. So, I had my 73 Deuce and a quarter, big photo. She was red. And I got off the freeway, went into the McDonald's. So I pull up, I get out the car, I go in the McDonald's, and it was some church ladies getting out of a van. And, you know, they was dressed, you know, and they come in, and I'm standing at the counter, and the lady just come in, and she just put her head in front of me on the counter, you know, and like, you know, I'm saved, you know, you a sinner, you pull up with all that music on, you know, and it was just real disrespectful. And I'm like, wow, you know, she go to church, and I didn't know much about church back then, but I said, she ain't saved. That's just what I was thinking, because I had my grandmother since I can remember, and that ain't the way my grandmother was. My grandmother was not rude. She didn't think she was better than nobody else. And it just threw me for a loop, guys, you know. And I just went ahead, and it was like 6 of them. And they all stepped in front of me like I wasn't even there. And they ordered their food. I didn't say nothing to them because, see, that's something else. My grandmother, my mother raised me. I'm going to be respectful. You know, these days I think kids cuss you out, you know. You know, young folks, they'll cuss you out, you know, but I'm just, so I just look at, you know, and I've been around a lot of saved people, but, you know, and even my mother, I love my mother, but she don't have the attitude as my grandmother and Tika. They just like, you know, they just was real. They carried themselves, you know, well as children of God. And I don't know, you know, I just think about that from time to time, even still right now today, especially, I didn't for a long time, but after I got saved, it just pops up in my mind every once in a while, how that lady just came in and, well, let's move me out the way, you know, like, and you know, I was sitting, you know, I mean, listening to rap, and I don't even think back then they wasn't even cussing in the rap. I'm talking about Run DMC and you know, Kool Moe Dee and LL Cool J. You know, it wasn't no cussing going on. Slick Rick, you know, Lottie Dottie, we likes to party. Yeah, we don't bother nobody. You know, so that's what I was, you know, it wasn't, you know, but I always, that's why they used to call me bass. I always played my music loud, you know. So I had it cranked up when I pulled in, and I think they was, we both pulled in, I think, at 2 different sides of the parking lot, and we parked, you know, I got there just a little bit before them because I made it in there before them. And, you know, the lady behind the counter, she was in the back, so, you know, they lingered out there for about 2 minutes before they even came in. Then right as the lady was coming up, they asked me what I wanted. The lady just stepped in front of me, you know, so I'm like, man. So when it comes to, you know, serving God, you know, you gotta humble yourself. You know, you can't think you better and stuff than everybody. You know, you gotta carry yourself a certain way because it's in the Bible. He tells us to do so. So, you know, but I knew quite a few people like that just felt like, I'm saved, I'm better than you. Ain't nobody better than nobody. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. you know, we're all children of God, and we're supposed to respect and love each other, you know, so. Alright guys, so next week, I don't know what I'm on. There ain't nothing popped up in my mind for next week, so God ain't gave me nothing. He ain't put nothing in my heart. So, alright guys, you have a good, you be blessed and have a good day in Jesus' name. Alright.